All right, let's talk charts. Have you ever pulled up a stock chart, seen this wall of little red and green bars, and just felt completely overwhelmed? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. Today we're going to demystify these things, they're called candlesticks, and I'm going to show you how to read the entire story of a trading day just by looking at one of these single bars.
So the absolute best way to think about a candlestick is not as some boring data point. Oh no, it's way more exciting than that. I want you to think of every single candle as a battle report, sent straight from the front lines of the market. It's the story of an intense fight between the buyers and the sellers.
Okay, so let's dive into this battle report. To really get the story, you've got to understand the language it's written in, right? So we're going to break down the anatomy of a candle, piece by piece.
First up is the main thick part of the candle. This is called the body, and you can think of it as the final verdict of the battle. It tells you exactly who was in control when the dust settled. You see a big, long body, that means the winner won by a landslide. A tiny little body, that means it was a much, much closer fight.
Now, for what I think is the most interesting part, the struggle. You see these thin little lines sticking out from the top and bottom? Those are called wicks, or sometimes shadows. They show us the high and low points of the battle, where one side tried to make a big push but got totally rejected and beaten back.
So, in any battle, there are really only two possible outcomes. You get a green candle, that's bullish. It just means the price closed higher than where it started. The buyers, who we call the bulls, they won the day. If you see a red candle, that's bearish. The price closed lower than it opened, which means the sellers, or the bears, were the winners. It's really that simple.
Okay, let's talk about a huge trap that trips up almost every single beginner who tries to learn this stuff. And we're going to see how this whole battle report mindset helps us avoid it completely.
You're going to see charts like this all over the place. People will tell you, oh, you have to memorize dozens of specific patterns. They've got all these crazy names like the hanging man, the shooting star, or the three white soldiers, and they'll tell you this is the key to everything. Well, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but according to our source material, that is just not true. Trying to memorize all of these different patterns is not only a massive headache, but it's actually a fundamentally flawed way to look at a chart. I mean, just think about it logically for a second. There are thousands of stocks out there. Even if you narrow it down and you're looking at a few hundred charts a week, are you really going to scan every single one of them, trying to find 30 different patterns you memorized? Come on, it's totally impractical. You would pull your hair out and give up.
So, if memorizing isn't the answer, then what is? Well, it's something way simpler and honestly, way more powerful. It's about learning to read the psychology of the battle, really understanding the story that each and every candle is trying to tell you.
Let's take this candle right here. It's got a big green body and these tiny, tiny little wicks. So what's the story? Well, the buyers were in absolute control, from the opening bell to the close. This isn't a story of a struggle. This is a story of pure conviction.
Now, what about this one? See, it has a small body, but look at that long wick on the bottom. What's that story? Well, sellers tried their best to tank the price, but buyers stormed in, rejected them, and staged this massive comeback. The psychology here? The bulls basically screamed, "Not today, bears!"
And here's the opposite story. You can probably guess this one. It's got a long wick at the top. Buyers tried to rally, they tried to push the price higher, but they just hit a brick wall of sellers who completely rejected that move and slammed the door shut. And what about this little guy? A tiny body with small wicks. This is a total stalemate. Neither side could gain any ground. The psychology here is pure, uncut indecision. The market is just confused, waiting for a clear winner to emerge.
You see, you don't need to memorize dozens of patterns if you can just read the story. It all boils down to a super simple three-part formula. This is the core takeaway. Part 1. The body equals strength. The bigger that body, the more strength the winner of that day's battle had. Simple as that.
Part 2. The wick equals rejection. Those wicks, those thin lines, they always, and I mean always, tell the story of where the price tried to go but was rejected by the other side. And finally, Part 3. Size equals conviction. The overall size of the candle, from the very top of its wick to the very bottom, tells you how much energy, how much conviction was in the market that day. So remember, body, wick, size. That's strength, rejection, conviction. That is it. By understanding that simple formula, you can now look at any candlestick on any chart and immediately read the story of what happened. You get it. You understand the language of price. But
That's only half the story. To know if that story is actually true, you need to look at volume, what our source calls the truth serum of the market. But that, well, that's a story for another time.